Hi again, everybody. This video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here is her story. Hello, Ollie. I'm writing to you today because I need your opinion on whether my husband is a narcissist. I am so confused because I wonder if it's me that is truly the narcissist, as I believe that I was possibly raised by one, my grandmother. My husband and I first met when we were in college in 2002. It was wonderful being friends with him because he is intelligent and was full of life and just all around fun to be around. I didn't like him in an intimate way, and I didn't think that he liked me that way either. However, one day when we were at my apartment studying, he kissed me. It was so out of the blue that it literally swept me off my feet, as I considered it to be so romantic, and I was completely absorbed from that point on. We became boyfriend and girlfriend, and things were okay, but he couldn't be around much as he was in a program at a homeless shelter because his mom had kicked him out of her apartment. In hindsight, I don't remember why he didn't ask to stay with me and my then 5-year-old son. We weren't together long. He just stopped coming over and going to school. I moved on with my life, and he went to prison. When he got out in 2012, he found me on Facebook. We hooked up and spent so much time together, like every weekend. It was great. We got married in 2013, and we lived at my house. It was okay at first, but then one night I went into the living room and he was watching porn. It broke my heart because I spent so much time giving blowjobs and just all around having sex with him whenever he wanted, that I couldn't understand why he needed porn. He told me that it was something he had to be delivered from. The conversation turned into an argument where he stormed off, and I was left there feeling like crap. Maybe I overreacted, but we were only married for 2 months. I got pregnant right away, which came at a hard time in our marriage as we were just married. I had to stop smoking cigarettes, which was so hard for me because I had smoked for 15 years. I was irritated. I was hormonal and confused. In my second month of pregnancy, we got a new bedroom set. King-size bed, mainly to accommodate his long legs. We were laying in bed, but he was watching TV, and I was trying to go to sleep, but I couldn't as I was cramping and stuff. I felt like he should have gotten up and went to the living room to watch TV so that I could get some rest, as I had to get up in the morning and go to work. He wasn't working at the time. Instead, I went to the living room while he stayed in the bedroom watching TV. I was so upset that he was sitting in bed, and there I was on the couch suffering. So I told myself, no, this is not right. You go get in that bed and ask him to go to the living room and watch TV. That's just what I did. He got up in a huff and started snatching stuff, saying that all I had to do was tell him that to begin with. I tried to express to him that I really didn't know that it bothered me until I went into the living room, but he wouldn't listen. It turned into a full-fledged fight. He pushed me down to the floor and yelled at me. My 2 sons heard us. He was attending group therapy at this time, and so after the first physical contact incident, he shared with his group how we argued, and he pushed me down to the floor. The following week, he was arrested for a parole violation. It turned out that because he pushed me to the floor while being pregnant, that it was a crime. I felt horrible, and I blamed myself because he had told me that I made him do it. Did you also make him get sent into prison to begin with? So his dumbass was on parole? No, it's your fault for making him push you to the ground, not his fault for being on probation to begin with, or even laying his hands on you to begin with. So I called his parole officer and told her it was all my fault, that I had stopped smoking cigarettes and couldn't take anything for my nerves, and I overreacted and caused him to push me. She wasn't hearing none of it, nor should she have. He stayed in jail for 2 months. I went to court, I guess 3 or 4 times, even writing a letter to the judge, but he wasn't having it either. So I finally had to testify. When asked if he had pushed me down, I said no. The judge intervened and told me that I shouldn't protect him, but I continued to lie. They released him, but made it so we could not have contact for 2 months unless it was for counseling. We would go to counseling, but still made ways to see each other. It was okay for a while. When he finally was able to come home, we were rocked with news that his father had died. So we had to go to LA to his funeral. I remember seeing that he and his father weren't really close. In fact, his dad had a janitorial company that did well. He possibly could have inherited the business, but he couldn't give up his love of weed in time to show his father that he could be responsible. When we got there, I saw a different side of him. Almost submissive, like he aimed to please everyone, and I thought that was normal and sweet. But what threw me for a loop is that I would be so tired and just wanting to sleep when we didn't have formal family obligations at a motel, and he refused. He said that it would make him look bad. I cried and told him I wasn't going to make him look bad, but my ankles were swollen. It was hot and I was tired. He said that I was selfish and insecure and needed to get over myself. The day that I had the baby was a little stressful as I had to do my husband's hair while having contractions. What? I remember telling him once that there were 10 minutes apart, that it was time, and he told me from what he'd read that they were just Braxton Hicks. Finally, after crying in pain, he drove me to the hospital. I was 6 centimeters. An hour later, I was pushing. When we got home from the hospital, I was committed to nursing my beautiful baby. Only thing was, it wasn't working, and I was beyond stressed and scared. He walked around as if it was no big deal. After calling the doctor to notify them that my baby wasn't eating, they instructed me to get him on some formula. He yelled at me because he said that I was rushing him. I almost had a nervous breakdown. His mother tried to explain to him that I just had a baby and my hormones were all over the place, but he didn't care. He was still mad at me. Moving all the way forward to a month before my son's first birthday, I was scheduled to take a class to become a dance instructor. This day was so important to me and I was extremely nervous, but held it in because I didn't want him to get mad at me and ruin my day. I could find my phone. I could find my phone. And so I told him that I was afraid to drive without my phone. At the time, my car was not working, so I was going to drive his beat-up car that is a 1997 Honda. He told me that if it stopped on the freeway to go to a call box, I told him that I shouldn't have to do that since he has 2 phones. Couldn't I just use his? He got extremely mad and started yelling at me, saying that I should have asked him in the first place. He started picking me apart, and I was confused as I couldn't understand why he was so angry. I started yelling at him to please stop ruining my mojo, and he just kept on. I threw my bag down and started to cry. Then he kicked out 13 spindles, the banister that surrounds the stairs. I couldn't believe my eyes. Not only that, he held me by my wrist and yelled at me right in my face for 20 minutes. The kids were there, the cops were called by my neighbors, but I protected him. His favorite physical punishment was to hold me down and yell at me. I hated it because I was afraid, and all I wanted to do was get up and have control over my own body. He held me down one day while my grandmother was on the phone begging him to get off me, but he wouldn't. He would publicly humiliate me in front of all my neighbors by locking me out of the house, telling me I couldn't come in. My children and me were the only ones on the lease. He would always call his mother and tell her about our arguments, and she would try to counsel us, but it never worked. One time she told me not to tell my family what was going on in our household because they would only hold it against him. I listened to his mother until on my baby's birthday we had an argument because I questioned his activities at work, where he said he would smoke weed and make music with this woman. Right, another woman. What did you think he had 2 phones for to begin with? I asked him if he thought that was a good idea. He got fighting mad at me, started doing the usual yelling, moving more aggressively. I started to pray. I thought I would do something that I had never done before to usher peace in our home. He told me to shut up. He told me that God couldn't hear my prayers. I kept praying and he got up and choked me while I was holding my son. My baby cried. I decided to leave him. I filed for divorce 10 months ago. He wanted to reconcile, but he'd been in another relationship. And now I just don't think I have it in me to tolerate any more drama. I know that I wasn't perfect because I had some insecurities. I was very overweight and unhappy with myself after I had my son. Plus, I breastfed for over a year, so the weight didn't leave until I was finished. I think he's not a narcissist, but I'm not sure. He says that it was my fault the marriage deteriorated the way it did, so I'm wondering if I'm the narcissist and I just caused him to act out. What do you think? I've made a contribution to PayPal. Please make me anonymous. Whether he's narcissistic or not, he obviously is. But why would you reconcile with an ex-convict who physically beats you, locks you out of your own house, tries to sabotage everything you do, made you sleep on the couch, takes no consideration? Yeah, that's narcissism. But that's not your biggest problem. Your biggest problem is that you would even consider taking somebody back who would lay their friggin' hands on you while you're holding his child. Don't worry about whether or not he's narcissistic. He's violent. You're lying in court for him. You are perjuring yourself, putting yourself and your children at risk. Why? And now you're considering moving this motherfucker back in? His mother tells you to shut your mouth and don't tell anybody? Why? So because people have a bad opinion of him? They should. Well, let me ask you something. And not that I have a problem with smoking weed, obviously I don't. But if his father doesn't trust him enough to give him a business because he smokes weed, why then do you have to keep your mouth shut about him abusing you? Why is it all on you? Why is it not on them? Of course it's narcissism. His whole narcissistic family. Proceed with the divorce and don't look back. And never lie for him in court again. Never lie to him to the cops. The judge saw right through it. What was he in prison for? There's a reason why the judge didn't want to hear it. Was he in prison for being violent already? What? Dealing drugs, selling drugs? What was he in prison for to begin with? There's a reason why the judge didn't want to hear it. The parole officer didn't want to hear it. Because they shouldn't have been hearing it. You're lucky you didn't get yourself. Well, they don't charge, because they don't charge women for perjury in cases like they just don't. Not that that's the answer, but look at the lengths you've gone through, and you're still considering bringing him back. No way. Yes, he's a narcissist. No, it doesn't even matter if he's a narcissist or not, but yeah, he is. Why is it okay for his family to reject him, but not you? Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your story. I really appreciate it. I hope it helps. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you know what to do with the PayPal and my email links in the description box. I'll have the video right back to you. This is Ollie Matthews. Thanks for watching. See you all again soon. Bye.